Good evening, everybody. I'm Ronan. I also go by the handle of Zero. You can find me on Twitter at _0. That's me. Today I'm going to talk about wearables. But before I start going into this, maybe very shortly what I do. I'm founder and CEO of a company called Squirrel Solutions. We have a little squirrel as a logo. We do tech consulting and everything what we call beyond mobile. So we do applications, websites, and even platform builds, starting from mobile phones to cars to TVs to wearables even. And I'm also author of that nice Android developers cookbook that you can today get with a 40% discount from the web shop following this URL. Don't worry if you're too slow to type that off. That's on my last slide as well. And today I'm going to talk about smartwatches. Well, smartwatches in particular, because that is the wearable format, hardware format that we're seeing really the most today. This is still from the 1990s movie Dick Tracy. Dick Tracy is a comic figure that originated in 1932. He's a detective. He has no superpowers. It's one of the, I think, one of the early DC comics. Dick Tracy was a guy in a cool yellow trench coat with a cool yellow hat, who kind of, fought crime and beat the bad guys all the time. And he had no superpowers, but what he had was a smartwatch, a special talking watch. And this is the smartwatch was introduced into the Dick Tracy comic in 1946, so that's shortly after World War II. We already had the idea of having something on your wrist that can actually do much more than just show you the time. He was able to talk to this watch, and it even had a little screen with two-way television. So he had video conferencing on his wrist. This idea was there in 1946. This is how old the idea of smartwatches actually is. So also we see this as something new, and we have this technology just now in our hands. The whole concept is in fact very old, and it's something that people have imagined for a very long time. And this was the only superpower Dick Tracy had. Whenever there was something happening, and I think you can recognize this concept with today, whenever there was something happening, he got a little alert on his smartwatch, and when he said, "I'm on my way," and off he goes. Fighting crime, saving the day. So this is a really old thing. If we talk about smartwatches today, I'm going to start with what is available right now. Of course, everybody knows the Motorola 360. I guess everybody knows, everybody tries to buy one. Interesting enough, you can't buy a Motorola 360 in Germany. And you can't actually buy it anywhere else because it's sold out. It sells like crazy. The G-Watch are the new one, the LG R that I have here, are the ones from LG. There was also, so these are the things running Android Wear. There's also an Android Wear watch from Samsung. It's not selling as good, I think, but also Samsung is not pushing it this much. Of course, there's a smartwatch 2 from Sony. Sony was one of the first companies to actually introduce smartwatches to the market, running with, or at least being compatible to Android phones, I think almost 4 years ago with a smartwatch, the first one. It kind of never really took off, but also it kind of, you couldn't do that much with it. They have a new version, this is the smartwatch 2, which is available now. There is an Android Wear watch coming from Sony as well. Likely not before Christmas, but I think early in 2015. Of course, Samsung has its own platform of smartwatches, which is the Galaxy Gear. This is now in its third reoccurrence with the Gear S. The Gear S is the famous one with a curved display, which is really, really cool. Launch date, I don't know. I hope rightly before Christmas. Nobody knows, sir. Then there is, of course, the Talk. The Talk is a really, really capable device from Qualcomm. As always, Qualcomm does really, really cool hardware, only for developers, so nobody on the street can get it. It's kind of hard to get hold of one, but if you can manage, this one is really good. It can do a lot of things. It's a very powerful processor. Of course, if Qualcomm does something, they do it right, but not for the people on the street. The IM watch from IMSPA, that's from Italy, I think. Yeah, it's nice. It's available now. It has a color display, I think. The Pebble, everybody knows the Pebble today, with a famous black and white display. You can have Twitter on the Pebble. It has a bunch of demo apps. It's kind of nice. TrueSmart runs Android a bit more powerful. The Hot Watch, also running standard Android, is available today. Then there's things I'm more excited about, which is the IM Pulse from the famous Mr. will.i.am, a musician, and interesting enough, he's also a designer. So he studied design, and he comes up with like concepts for wearables every now and then. And the Pulse, if you check that website, it's available now, or at least you can pre-order it now. It looks really, really brilliant. Nobody knows what it's running. It looks, I don't know, it could be a modified Android, I'm not sure. There's a ton of smartwatches out there today. The Craos Meteor, which famously has bad reviews. It went on Kickstarter last year, and it seems to be really, really crappy hardware from all of it that I've seen. Not even waterproof, almost breaking the instant you actually turn it on. But it sold like crazy. It had like 1.5 million in Kickstarter funding, and yeah. So everybody who can like put together a little bit of hardware is trying to build a smartwatch today. What can those things do? It really depends on the hardware, but there's a kind of common layer to it. Most of them go with an always-on screen. All the Android Wear devices have an always-on screen. The Apple Watch will have an always-on screen. Even the Pebble does. Some of them don't, because of course having the screen always on takes its toll on performance and battery life. We're seeing, if you're looking for something with really a lot of applications, the Sony smartwatch is your platform to go. With around 400 or now even more applications available to work on that. If you're looking for applications for Android Wear, I think maybe 50 right now. It's just starting. Nobody knows. I think probably Apple Watch, once it starts, will have huge build-up, as always with Apple products. Most of them have Bluetooth connections, Bluetooth Smart. Some of them have SIM cards. That's where it gets really interesting. That's where we get more to the Dick Tracy version, being able to actually replace my cell phone completely with a watch. If that's something you want to do, it's something else to see, but at least the GRS has a SIM card and a 3G connection. The TrueSmart has, the Berg watches have that. The IM Pulse has that as well. Seems to have decent call quality, most of them as well. We see a lot of them starting to have N+, which is a low energy protocol on top of Bluetooth, so you can talk to Internet of Things like devices. Most of them are waterproof, at least to the part where you can take them in a shower. I even went swimming with the LG R and also with the other LG watch. They still work, that's okay. The Craos seems to be famous to actually melt once it gets in touch with even a little bit of water. Some have replaceable batteries, so some of us even work with standard AA batteries that you can just replace, or the smaller, very small round ones. That is actually nice, because the things you get like Android Wear devices, they don't have replaceable batteries, and the huge problem is how to charge them. If you have an USB plug in your watch, it's not going to be waterproof. If you don't have a USB plug in your watch, you will need a charger. The LG watches need actually a charger with a few pins. Turns out, if you have electrodes on a watch or electrodes directly on your body all the time, people are always a little bit sweaty. Even if we don't want to be, but we are always a little bit sweaty. So all this water starts, the electrodes start corroding. And because LG had a little mistake in their driver, the electrodes were always active. So if you have one of the early batches of the original LG watch, chances are you have to polish your electrodes now. And it's not going to charge anymore. They fixed it with a software update disabling those, but still now you have, you need a cradle to charge those things. And every watch today comes with exactly one cradle. So leave your cradle at home, go on a business trip. Sorry, man. Within 2 days, you have just a bit of dead plastic on your wrist. Some are charging wirelessly. Motorola 360 is using the key standard. That's nice. We have a standard for wireless charging now. How many people have wireless charging cradles in your coffee? Oh yeah, 2 people. Cool. You have one in your office, one at your home? Excellent. It's starting. I want those things in Starbucks. So I can just go somewhere and charge my phone, charge my watch. Hopefully we get there eventually. Supported Phone OS, it's as much a range of hardware is available, as much range of operating systems is out there. Of course, Android has a lot of those. Usually all the watches should talk to almost all phones available. Android Wear only talks to Android phones. I think that is kind of a bad move, but the protocol is easy enough. We could easily charge that and maybe build something for iOS. Standard Bluetooth, everything that uses standard Bluetooth actually works with every phone OS available. Maybe not BlackBerry so much, but anyway. And one of the things that I'm really going to get a bit more into it is some of those watches are fashionable and some of those are just plain ugly. And that's a problem. In terms of what are we going to develop on? Android is a clear winner. So if you're an Android developer, good times. Almost all of the smartwatches are running some sort of Android on it. Of course, we have Android Wear. The bad news about Android Wear OS is it's not open source yet, so we can actually deploy it on our own hardware. I'm really hoping we get that open source dumped soon, because this will hopefully lead to all the other smartwatch builders to adapt Android Wear and stop shipping their own run-down versions of Android. TrueSmart is using Android 4.1 something. The iWatch is, nobody knows, something 2.3 derivatives. The Pebble is rolling its own operating system. We have some sort of C APIs and C SDKs for that, as well as the hot one. Of course, Galaxy Gear is running Tizen, the Samsung operating system. Of course, the Apple Watch will be running iOS. So that's platforms we know, but the problem here kind of is that, especially for a bit more exotic ones, we need to have different SDKs, we need to have different APIs. So if you want to deploy for as much smartwatches as possible, it's going to be hard. Likely we have to rebuild things every now and then. Hopefully, once Android Wear OS becomes open source, this is going to be changing. So we have more Android Wear devices available. Android Wear being a common denominator in terms of unifying hardware and giving us a unified software platform the same way Android did for smartphones. So, pricing. Right now, that is a bit of an unfair slide because there is a cheaper version of the Apple Watch coming, but also Apple will be building a full gold watch with a price tag of, I think, something around $3,000. On the other side, you have the really cheap things coming from China. I kind of had an announcement, just saw an announcement on Monday. Someone's building a smartwatch for $5. $5. That's like chocolate. That's like a chocolate bar. That's like the price of a beer, right? Everybody's gonna buy that. I don't know if it will work or if it will work longer for of a week, but who cares? It's just $5. The Android Wear things are kind of in the middle of it. The Moto 360 is around $250. The LG watch in a Black Friday sale was, I think, around $60. So there's a smartwatch for everybody. There's an affordable smartwatch for everyone, and that means adoption will really, really take off next year. It's starting to see this right now because it's almost impossible to get an Android Wear in Germany. It's almost impossible to get an Android Wear device anywhere. They're really selling much more than was actually expected. So this is an up-and-coming market. And this is, of course, this gives a bit of a luxury thing, like the Apple Watch made of gold. Who would actually buy that? Yeah, okay, one guy. This is a technical device that will be outdated in like a year or two, at best, and it's made of solid gold, and you paid really a lot. So what I'm waiting for is the I'm Rich app on the Apple iWatch, exclusively for people who paid $3,000 for their watch made of gold. Now can even add on another image of, I don't know, a squirrel maybe, for another $2,000. That's opportunity right there. Personal computing. Ah, my precious. The term personal computing is really old. I think there's this famous quote from the guy at IBM who said, hey, we're only gonna sell 5 of those personal computers. Who needs those things? Man, was he wrong. Personal computing, everybody now, like everybody, owns some sort of computer today. Everybody has a smartphone. Actually, in Germany, we have 3 times as much smartphones as we have people in Germany. I'm guilty. I have a lot of smartphones. Probably you are all guilty of driving that statistic up too. The thing is, computers are getting closer and closer and closer. So the term personal computing, in the beginning, it just meant that people had easy access to a computer without having to drive into a huge site, talking to huge machines, filling almost this room, having those things on their desk. Now we have laptops, we take them everywhere. Now we have smartphones that actually fit in our pockets. Now we will get wearables. So computers are getting closer. They are becoming much more personal. In fact, they are becoming personal items. You would likely not share your phone with somebody else. A personal item is something that is really close to me, that is really close to the user, and that the user kind of enters a relationship with. A personal item says something about its owner. Jewelry says something about yourself. Lots of people have engagement rings. That's a really old tradition. That's like centuries old tradition. You have an engagement ring to show you're married. Okay. That says something about yourself. It's an item that belongs just to you and that you wouldn't share with someone else. And it's telling a story. You have a relationship with that. So it's also, it's a display of status. It's a display of yourself. And it's very, very close to the user. So the thing is, if those things don't work as expected, the users are gonna be really, really angry. Like really, really angry. Just imagine that now we have technology that is always with us, always near us. Some people maybe go running and have a wristband that tracks their pulse. That's the sort of personal item. Think medical devices, think things that know about your heart rate. The smartwatches can know about your heart rate. They know about how you feel, how you react to things. This is new. This is computing even much closer than something sitting on my desk. So they also become fashion items. And this is really a new paradigm for creating software. Because until now, nobody cares really if your software is ugly. There's a lot of business software, can I say SAP, which is really famous for being really ugly? But it doesn't matter because it gets the job done. Now this is changing. Software that I have, a piece of technology that I have on me all the time, that other people might be able to see. If this is ugly, I look ugly. That's bad. That's not something I'm going to buy. That's not something I'm going to use. So for the first time, we have to make technology that is actually a fashion item. And this will be a real challenge for us. So how can we for wearables? And I see I gotta get faster. I came across something which was just kind of stole it from G+, but it was just too good to let go. And this is a screenshot of the Apollo thing, the Apollo command module. This helped us get people to the moon. It's complicated, it's ugly, it's hard to read, you need training, you need hundreds of pages that tell you how to operate this thing. This is the space shuttle. It helped us establish an outpost in orbit. It helped us build the ISS. We have more multi-purpose screens here. It looks a bit better, it looks a bit easier. There's a lot of more digital technology in here. And now we have this. This is the SpaceX Dragon. That's designed to take people to the Mars. It's really reduced. That's just 2 screens and a set of buttons, and it can do all the things the other things can't. It can even go beyond that. So the interface is getting easier and easier, and we expect technology to do a lot more things just on their own, figure out on their own, help us actually operate them. So when it comes to wearables, I'm proposing to think of no UI at all. And this is new. Because usually we think in terms of user interfaces, we try to create nice things, but how about we don't? We just stop doing that. Build something that can be operated without watching it. This is how I control my volume of my music stream whenever I'm walking around every day. It's a swipe to the right and a press to the top, and the music gets louder. I can do this operating on my watch without looking at it, because it's so easy. It's just 2 gestures. I don't even have to get the watch out of my coat completely. It just kind of works. And that's something we want to do with wearables. We want it to just work and not be in the way of a user. So if you're building wearables, think about what you can do in terms of gestures, of easy gestures that are easy to learn. Of course, we have to learn them, but once we do, it's really easy to do that without looking at it. The other thing that I propose to use more to emphasize is sound. We are also used to having notifications on home screens, on everywhere, that we're kind of missing out on the capability that audio gives us. Almost nobody uses distinguished ringtones or call tones anymore in their applications. We can easily identify and learn to identify a lot of different sounds. Also, text-to-speech is really good now, and also speech recognition is really good now. Yes, it looks weird talking to your watch, but Dick Tracy did it in 1946, so that's okay. And as more and more people adapt those things, it will become more and more normal to actually talk to your computers and talk to your environment without looking like crazy. So we really can expect users to be comfortable with sound interfaces really soon, and we really should start building them because this gives us a great new field to interact with technology. And if you really have to draw something on the screen, remember those screens are really tiny, so less is probably more. Turns out from between all of the smartwatches available today, what you really can fit on a screen are 4 icons, 4 buttons. If it's more than that, it's probably going to be not comfortable to operate at only. at any part. So when we think of 4 parts on the screen, we usually go with the left one, because that's what we learned. That's the coordinate system everybody kind of intuitively expects. But that's hard to do. Better is the one on the right. Why? Because if I grasp my watch, I get a physical feedback, and I have a physical direct understanding of top, bottom, left, and right. Because I can just grab it with my hand, and I know exactly, oh, this is the top of the watch, this is the bottom of the watch. And it's really easy to use that and press a button that is on top or on the bottom or on the left side without actually looking at my watch. Whereas if I have to do it, with a coordinate system like that, it kind of gets harder, and it gets easier that I'm gonna miss my touch target. Also, remember the 360 only has not a really complete circle display, so there's something cut up on the corner. It's likely that not the whole screen that we actually see or that you can use for display, we can actually use as touch targets. So kind of reduce, and that is what I'm gonna really want to emphasize here. Build small interfaces, smaller interfaces, reduce, use other paradigms, use voice, use gestures to make it easier to operate. And with that, I'm already through, and I wish you all happy holidays. Any questions?
Yeah, so thank you, Ronan, for this nice talk. And any questions from the audience, maybe? If not, at first, I would like to start you a simple question. So you have a smartwatch now since how many months?
I think half a year now.
Half a year now.
Something.
So what's your favorite feature right now on the smartwatch?
Amazingly enough, reading emails.
Yeah.
That was unexpected, right? It's really great for reading emails. It's really crappy for replying to emails. But reading, absolutely good.
Okay, and what is the feature you are most missing right now? So what you would wish in a smartphone, in a smartwatch?
Oh, that's a huge list.
Maybe the top first.
Yeah, like
first,
the top.
The best.
I think my top thing is some sort of maps application, actually. Being able to see where I am and where I'm gonna go and where I need to go, like navigation or just an overview of a map. That is something that I'd really like to see. And of course, just yesterday we got the new watch faces API. We really need more cool watch faces out there. So if you have some time, Christmas is coming up, people are happy to shop. I guess here's an opportunity building watch faces right now. That's going to be a good thing to do.
Okay, so now we continue with a question from the audience. Yes, here.
Hello, I have 2 questions. First question is, I stopped wearing a watch a long time ago. So how do you convince people like me who don't wear watches at all? And the second question is, how is the CPU power of the mobile of the watch? Because, like for instance, I'm interested in software-defined radio, and I would like to combine that with a watch, so I can have a software receiver for radio, and then receive it over the internet on my phone, and then decode it on the phone. So how big is the computing power of on the watch?
In terms of computing power, I guess if you want like a key indicator, think early Android phones. Like the first 2 or 3 generations of Android phones released. That's the sort of power you can get off of watches right now. It's not that much, but on the other side, they're so small and they have that emphasis on battery lifespan, to being able to actually last 2 or even 3 days without having to be recharged. Something's got to give, and in that terms, it's like processing power. But as always, as time continues, they get better and better.
You didn't answer the first question yet,
Yeah.
which is why
How
would
do
you own
I
a
convince people?
smartwatch?
Well, I didn't wear a watch for something 15 years or something as well. I kind of, it's hard getting used to this again, because it's in your way, and it's a physical thing, a physical weight. of course, they're not heavy, but it's still something that you feel. Feature-wise, it's kind of even. Can I say it's better than Google Glass? It's
Note he actually owns Google Glass, so he
yeah,
knows what he's talking about.
So it kind of, you didn't know you were missing this until you try. But once you get used to this, you're never going to leave home without it. It's really having the ability to get information that is incoming, all of that information streams we have coming in, just a glance away, and that's really the thing. It's just glanceable. It's just something tells me, okay, I gotta go. Oh, okay, something mentioned me on Twitter. Thanks. Things like that coming in, and you know, it's way faster than checking your phone. So that's a really cool feature, and once you have that, it's brilliant. So I guess to really convince you, I gotta let you try.
So maybe one or two last questions. Yes, one, and Johannes also.
Do you use speech recognition? Is this a feature?
Cool. Speech recognition is available on all of the Android Wear devices and most of the other watches as well.
Yeah, so do you use it with your watch? I once had a Galaxy Gear and, well, I just didn't use it.
Well, there's the thing. It works well enough with Germans. It works totally okay with people speaking English. I think die Hessen in Frankfurt sind da so ein bisschen benachteiligt, weil die Hesse, die nuschel alles so busy, gell? Und da kommt die Uhr einfach nicht so mit klar. Kann man ja nichts machen.
Da müssen Sie die Sprachmodelle noch trainieren.
Ja.
Okay, letzte Frage.
So not a real question, but a small addition to your presentation. I guess you were talking about apps and the interaction model, which I totally agree with you, even with the rotated positioning. But maybe it's worth to mention that on wearable devices, you more or less interact with the context. So every developer should really think about their usage context and the usage purpose of their app or whatever they do, and think how that can enhance the experience for the user. For example, don't disturb the user when you're in a meeting with silly vibrations or sounds or whatever, but maybe if you're outdoor in a very crowdy and loud situation, think about using vibration for notifying the user. Just think about you don't have a display, but what you also can do with your watch. So don't throw away all your knowledge about app developing. Just start rethinking. That wasn't it. What I wanted to mention.
I absolutely agree. Context is magic. Yeah.
Okay, then Ronan, thank you for your talk. Again, here's a nice Nikolaus for you.
Thanks.